to do with the ragu is we're going to put it in the saucepan, and we're about to make the filling that's going to go inside of the bell peppers as well as for the base in the pan. And I know what you're telling me, Sarah, not everyone puts any kind of sauce in a stuffed bell pepper. Well, I am, because I'm going to say it a million times, we don't want dry meat, don't want dry foods, we want to make sure it's nice and saturated in the mix that's going to go all up in the peppers. Okay, so now we can't just use the sauce. We have to add the flavor, which is going to be our freshly diced tomatoes. You can use canned tomatoes. I personally don't like to do that. I really think that the fresh tomatoes bring a really good flavor to it. And we're going to let that simmer in there until it's melted. It'll still be a little chunkier, but you'll see the tomatoes melt in the sauce. We're gonna add some more flavor. We got our sauce, we got our fresh tomatoes. Now we're gonna add some parsley. If you have fresh parsley, no problem, go ahead and use that as well, but we work with what we have. It's been about 5 minutes. Let's do a quick sauce check. Look how smooth that is. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of multitasking while the sauce is finishing up. Add some oil to a skillet on medium-high heat, and this is going to prep us for the next step, which is going to be either the ground beef or the ground turkey. In this case, I showed you at the beginning, I use ground turkey. Okay, so we don't waste anything. Here I'm showing you the ragu, and it still has some stuff in it. So we're going to add some water. It can be cold water, it can be warm water, it really doesn't matter. And you're going to just shake that around, get the excess, and you're going to add that into the saucepan. What this will do is this will water down the sauce, but you're not just putting regular water, you're adding more of that flavor that was left over. Look how nice and creamy that is now that we've added in the leftover ragu with the water. So everything is finally blending and coming all together. Okay, at this point we can turn the sauce down to low heat, and we're going to add our meat to the skillet because it should be nice and hot by now. Now we're going to add that onion and garlic that we chopped up earlier, and we're going to add that all in the meat. Okay, you guys should know the drill by now. Let's get it going with the seasonings. Okay, another quick sauce check just because I left it on low heat, and I'm just mixing it again so it blends out nicely. Okay, at this point just mix it 1 or 2 more times, and you can go ahead and turn off the stovetop for just the sauce. Okay, at this point our meat is all done, and you can tell because it's all nicely brown. Okay, now that the meat is all done, turn off the stovetop and dump all of the meat into a fairly large bowl. We're about to use this for the filling that's going to go into the stuffed peppers. Okay, so I cleaned the skillet, and I'm going to show you guys how I cook some fluffy rice, and I recently perfected this. So again, everyone has their own way. If you don't want to do it on the stove top and you have a slow rice cooker, that is perfectly fine, but I'm just showing you how I do it. Okay, you're going to turn the stove top on high heat, and while that's warming up, I'm just adding water to the rice. I'm not going to tell you guys a measurement. That screws me over every single time I've tried that with the rice. So all I'm going to tell you is you want the water to just be a little bit above the rice that's in the pan. So not completely too much, but you'll see what I'm talking about here. It's only a little bit above the water. So that's what you want to make sure you got. Let this cook until it simmers. We're going to come back to this in a second. Okay, let's carve out these bell peppers. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut a square around the top of the bell pepper. And then once you cut that square all the way around, you're just going to pull that right up, That'll take out most of the seeds. Then you're going to take a spoon, and I use a fairly larger spoon, and you're going to just go around the rim and side, and you're just going to carve out those seeds. If I have a harder time doing this after this step, what I'll do is I'll just take it to the sink and I'll fill it with a little bit of water, and that'll help me kind of smooth everything out when I'm scraping out the seeds. Okay, so I got most of it out. I'm just showing you how the seeds are all carved out, and then I just tap it onto the cutting board and it'll come out for the rest of them. Okay, now you see that our rice has came to a simmer. I mix it once and then I leave it on high for 5 minutes, even though every other recipe tells you to immediately turn it down to low. I found that this makes it extra fluffy. Just make sure that you still see some of the liquid and that it's not completely dry. So again, just leave it on for another 5 minutes on high. Then you're going to cover it with a lid, make sure it's covering it completely, and you're going to turn the heat all the way down to low. Okay, very important step. Once you put that lid on there and it's closed nice and tight, leave it alone for 18 minutes once you put it down on low heat. Okay, 18 minutes later and our rice is nicely separated and fluffy, so this is how you know that it is cooked very well. You don't want sticky rice. Okay, now that we know it's all done, you're going to turn off the heat and you're just going to set it aside to cool down. Okay, now we're going to pre-cook the peppers for about 5 minutes. So you're going to get a pan, put water in it, and turn on the stovetop to high heat. You're going to dump in all of the peppers. Just make sure that you submerge it with as much water as possible. If yours isn't as deep like mine, all you have to do is just make sure that the lid on there is very tight and it'll still cook the way that it's supposed to. We're going to finish up our filling for the stuffed bell peppers.